Good afternoon and welcome to Dave B's Kitchen. With the summer months upon us, we've been requested to do a lot of the summer desserty type things, and an inspiration for both Melanie and myself was an ice cream maker over in Endicott, New York called Pat Mitchell's. And every year, it was seasonal, he used to make cantaloupe ice cream, and that was one of our favorites. My grandfather Brocious used to pick up the cantaloupe ice cream whenever it was in season. So we're going to go ahead and make our own version of it. The object for us for making our own is it's fresh, it's fun, it's a fun project, and you were able to control what goes into it. Last year we did a peach ice cream, and we didn't use any sugar at all, and we just depended on the peach puree to add sweetness to it, and it was a little bit tart even for my standards. So this year I'm going to go ahead and add probably a cup of sugar or so. So that's like 200 grams of carbs, and we're going to use the vanilla bean in it. That's going to be like I'll probably have 3 grams in carbs from the vanilla bean. The cantaloupe itself, I'm going to use about 5 cups of cantaloupe in it overall, and that runs around I want to say 13 carbs per cup of cantaloupe. So our yield's going to be about 5 quarts of finished product. And I guess if you break it up, the carb amount, even if you get 5 servings out of it, you're talking 50 carbs per serving. So not horrible, but certainly you just want to restrict it to a treat. So we're going to go ahead and start with our vanilla beans, and if any of you know my Aunt Bonnie, she always requests extra beans in her vanilla. So I usually use the Madagascar vanilla. For these, I went ahead and I'm going to use the Tahitian. And I'm just going to run this over here. And this is just some milk that we have, and I'm just putting the beans in there, and then we'll go ahead and put the whole stalk in, or the whole bean in itself. And we'll just try to extract as much of that as we possibly can. And again, this is, we're just going to making our custard base here. So we just scalded some milk, and all the scalding of milk, that's in recipes from years ago when pasteurization wasn't quite so prevalent, and basically you're just taking the milk up to 180 degrees, killing off whatever bacteria is in there. Nowadays it's probably not so important. But we're going to go ahead and let our vanilla beans steep. We're going to take our cup of sugar, and I added about a half a teaspoon or so of salt. The recipes typically call for adding a little bit of flour to it. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and use some egg yolks to tighten up the mixture a little bit, and just kind of go with that custard, just a classic custard base. And I'm just going to make a little bit of a paste here using some whole milk. Now just take a couple of egg yolks. And then we're going to go ahead and temper the eggs, which all that means is just grabbing a little bit of our hot liquid here and introducing it into the egg yolks a little bit at a time. There's probably a quart of milk in total that I use to start the base off with. And just add a couple more eggs for good measure. So I have a total of about 6 egg yolks in this part of it. In the puree, I'm going to probably go ahead and add probably 2 yolks there just to help that tighten up. Okay, we'll let that go ahead and just thicken up on the double boiler there, Bain Marie, and we'll turn our attention to our puree. Cantaloupe puree. And I'll take this guy. So basically this is about 4 cups or so of cantaloupe, and I did add a vanilla bean to this just to throw some flavor in there. And I'm going to take an immersion blender that's been stewing there for, I don't know, about 20-30 minutes or so. And I'm just trying to soften up the fruit. Just cooking out a little bit of the water with a little cream. This is starting to tighten up a little bit. And again, we're going for that custard. Just a classic custard base. Basically heavy cream, egg yolks. Okay, our custard base is tightened up after we added the egg yolks. We let it cook for probably 3, 4, 5 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and fish out the vanilla beans that we have in here. And this is not quite, it's not quite ribbon consistency. Maybe I can show it here a little bit better. But it's just shy of pudding consistency, I would say. And we're going to go ahead and add the puree to this and let that incorporate, and then we're going to chill it down. incorporating nicely. And we're just letting it cook on the bain-marie a little bit, just to incorporate the puree into the custard base. And we don't want to stir it too vigorously. We don't want to put a lot of air into it. One of the big issues with ice cream is, you incorporate a lot of air. With the homemade custard, you're looking at, maybe a 23 to 28% ratio of butter fat. And the heavy cream that we're going to use ranges anywhere from 30 to 36%. One of my favorites used to be Crowley's, but I can't get it locally so much anymore. But Burn Dairy has a really good one. When I was up in Syracuse working, we used to get there was 36% heavy cream, and boy, that thickened up nice, whipped up nice. That was a nice product to work with. Okay. We're going to be ready for the ice bath now. So we're just going to take this, and I don't know, got 4 or 5 cups of ice in there with a little bit of water, and all we're going to do is just try to cool it down so we can get it ready to go into the freezer, the ice cream maker. And we just want to get the steam slowing down a little bit. Alright, so the base is cooled off. We're going to go ahead and add some whipping cream to it. Again, this is the heavy whipping cream. This is probably in the 32 to 34% range. Obviously, more butter fat, the better. And then I'll adjust just to get the correct height. But I'm going to probably add like 1.5 quarts just to get me close. And when we were tasting the base, Melanie said she got more vanilla notes than cantaloupe. I kind of got the combination, but I like vanilla. And if you're more into you want more cantaloupe flavor, just add less vanilla beans or omit the vanilla beans if you don't. You just want straight up cantaloupe. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add this into the dasher. I had that in the freezer just for a few minutes to get it cool. And take this over there. I've spilt this more times than not, so. So that's just pretty close. So I'm a little bit short, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjust with a little bit of heavy cream to get me to where I want to be as far as I want 5 quarts of yield. Well, that's about perfect. So we add our dasher, and then for a little additional cantaloupe, I just went ahead and diced up some, and we'll just add that in just for some good measure. A lot of folks like to put it in after it freezes. You know, there's a lot of good reasons for that. Sometimes the fruit will actually get like bullets. Like one time we did blueberries, and those things were really they were rock solid. So there's some different philosophies and when to add it. So we'll put our lid on it. And I like to use in White Mountain. A neighborhood lady recommended them, and you know they're just a good machine. I haven't had any trouble with it, and it's just dependable. It goes slow. It doesn't whip a lot of air into it, and all right, we got our ice cream freezer all set up. We're ready to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. It's gonna get a little bit loud, it's just a loud ice cream maker, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the ice. It's important to get a little bit of ice in the bottom and then pretty heavy with the rock salt. Typically, there's a ratio of like 5 parts ice to 1 part rock salt. So if you notice it's not freezing very quickly, just hit it heavy with the salt. She'll freeze up. And we'll get this plugged in. All right, I'm gonna try to talk over the machine, but the old White Mountain, she's rolling along. I got it iced down. I got about 5 parts ice to 1 part rock salt. She'll probably run like this for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and take a look at what our product is and maybe do a tasting. Okay, so ice cream maker went ahead and stopped, so we're going to go ahead and pull the dasher out and see what our final product is. And probably a little bit in the full side, but that's not a bad problem to have. And yeah. So everything on the paddle is chef's treat. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and clean this up here a little bit, and we'll I'll put a piece of parchment paper on it. Put the lid back on and it will, they call it ripen. So we'll go ahead and, you can pack it back in the ice, but I'll just put it downstairs in the freezer for a couple hours, let it harden up, ripen up, whatever your terminology is, but it's not bad. Matter of fact, it's pretty doggone good. You can definitely, I like the vanilla. I can definitely get the cantaloupe. Probably my wife would prefer more cantaloupe than the vanilla, but it's pretty good for the summer treat. Okay, we've given our ice cream a little bit of chance to ripen, and we'll go ahead and see how she came out. We tested it before it hardened up a little bit, but this is what we waited for. And corrections, custard, not ice cream. And that's what we waited for.